Hello, everyone. I hope you can hear us well. And welcome to today's webinar on how 3DS2 will affect your business. I'm Beatrice Corazza, and I work within the marketing team here at MongoPay. Today's agenda will be the following. So we're going to start with a 40 minutes presentation, followed by 20 minutes of Q&A right at the end of the presentation. Please feel free to ask questions in the question tab on your right. You also can upvote questions asked by other attendees that are relevant to you. So at the end of the presentation, this is actually going to help us to give priority to questions with a high demand and reply to them live. For all the questions that didn't manage to receive a reply live during the webinar, our support team will get back to you with a reply to the question you asked. So every question will receive a reply in any case. So also, at the end of the session, we will email you a replay of the webinar for those who weren't able to attend the full webinar today. For those of you who are just joining us, welcome. I'm going to let Michael and Arthur introduce themselves and get started with today's topic.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome. I'm Michael Poix. I'm currently working as a head of product for the cash flow team in MongoPay since 4 years. I'm very happy to present you with Arthur this topic. Arthur is working on my team and will be your host today for this webinar. And Arthur, this is your turn.
Yeah, hi everyone, I'm Arthur Levastre. I'm working at MongoPay for more than a year now, and I work on 3DS2 related topic. Yeah, I'm product manager at MongoPay as well in the Michael team cash flow. So let's begin the presentation. And today with webinar, it's about how 3DS2 will affect your business. So the main topic for this presentation, we'll talk about the 3DS2 flow and the secure mode. Secure mode is how you trigger a scenario or another one. The direct pay-in and prioritization, the web pay-in, the difference between the direct pay-in and the web pay-in, as a remind, is the direct pay-in and prioritization. You create the card and then you do the paying after with the card, so you don't need to register your card each time, but only one time. On the web paying, your end user always puts his card information on MongoPay widgets. After this, we'll talk about additional parameters that you will be able to push on MongoPay API. The card creation flow, a new scenario that's called Fallback 3DS1. And the market maturity on this topic, and to finish our roadmap and question, of course, after that. So the first part, it's about 3DS2 flow and secure mode. So as a reminder, on 3DS1, and I put this on 3DS1, you have two choices. The first one is to send default to MongoPay as secure mode. And then the secure mode, when you do a paying with MongoPay, it's where you decide to choose a flow or another one. If you are not above your 3DS limits that trigger on MongoPay side the 3DS flow, you are able to push a default value and then do not have any authentication, but directly go to the authorization. So in 99% of the case, when you ask for a default and you are under your 3DS limit, you will not have a strong customer authentication. And that's what we call a frictionless transaction, as the end user do not have to authenticate himself with a strong customer authentication. The other choice was to push force on MongoPay API, and in all cases, it will trigger an SCA, and then your end user will have to go on this banking application, for example, and accept the transaction through a strong customer authentication. On 3DS2, the paradigm changed. In 3DS1, there was no authentication or a strong authentication. In 3DS2, you will have, in all cases, an authentication, but this one can be what we call soft, and then trigger a frictionless scenario, or strong, and then have a strong customer authentication. Just to remind you, when you do a payment, when your end user do a payment, you go on your merchant website, proceed his payment, and then you send this payment to MangoPay as payment facilitator. And we also send this request to Acquiring Bank that holds the money, and then the issuing bank that validates that the transaction is okay for the end user. In any case, the issuing bank will always have the final choice of the wish you do. So, what are the possible exemptions that MangoPay can ask on our side? Those two exemptions are, the first one is the low amount transaction. So it's up to 30 euro, and then all the transactions up to 30 euro can be exempted as it's part of the low amount transaction. But there is two constraints on this. The first one, it's 5 transactions maximum in a row. What does it mean? It means that if you do 4 10 euro paying, for example, the fifth one, even if it's a 10 euro paying, will be strongly authenticated. The other constraint, it's 100 euro total in a row. So if you do, for example, 3 paying of 30 euro, it should be frictionless. And the fourth one, even if it's 30 euro, still, you will, the issuing bank will trigger a strong customer authentication because you pass above the 100 euro limits. What we need to understand here is that MangoPay cannot have any vision of how your payment is placed in these constraints, because it's all PSP taken into account. So all PSP are mangled, and then even if you for example, if you do 4 paying of 10 euro on another PSP than MangoPay, and the fifth one on MangoPay, even if it's the first one on MangoPay side, the issuing bank will trigger a strong customer authentication, and we don't have any visibility on this. And it's exactly the same with 100 euro total in a row. The second exemption is the low risk transaction. And then for you, it's up to your 3DS limits. But for MangoPay, we can push this exemption up to 250 euro. That's based on MangoPay's fraud rate. And what you need to understand is that markets and then 3DS2 and DSP2 allow the merchants to go for exemption up to 500 euro. However, there is really few PSPs that can do this for now, and MangoPay can go up to 250 euro. So in any way, if you have a frictionless experience, it means that MangoPay can ask for an exemption for this. In other case, it will be a strong customer authentication. So as you are under your 3DS limits, you will be able to push and ask for an exemption. But how to do it? The first one, as you already know, is a default value secure mode. So just as right now, the client is liable for the transaction. So you, in case of fraud, you will have the liability for this. The clients and then you explicitly request for a frictionless scenario. And then you want really that the customer don't have any strong customer authentication. As we cannot assure you that this wish will be accepted with the issuing bank, for example, with the 5 limits rule, the frictionless should be as close as we get right now, but we cannot assure you, and nobody on the market can do it. And that's the closest option that you, if you want to be on the same flow as right now with the default value on 3DS2, 3DS1, sorry. The second choice, and that's the new choice of the 3DS2, is no choice value for secure mode. And then you don't ask for a frictionless experience, neither nor for an SCA, so a strong customer authentication. As you don't ask for explicitly for frictionless or SCA, you don't have the liability for this, as you let the issuing bank choose of what you want to trigger. And that's really the new opportunity for you to have in some time a frictionless experience, but you don't have the liability for it, so that's perfect. You don't take the liability, and other case have the frictionless experience. The third choice is what you already know. The client, it's not, and then you are not liable for the transaction, as you want to trigger a strong customer authentication. You explicitly then request this strong customer authentication, and in most of the case, you will have a strong customer authentication that is triggered. Yeah, that's basically exactly the same flow as right now on Force, but in some case, we will see it. Even if you ask for a strong customer authentication, it can result in a frictionless experience for your end user, because sometimes the bank, if you, for example, if you push a €1 transaction, sometimes the issuing bank won't run their anti-fraud tool, and then just want to accept the transaction in frictionless, and do not even trigger the strong customer authentication. But it's really rare. Most of the time, if you ask Force in MongoPay API, you will have a strong customer authentication. Yeah, how the SCA is triggered. So as I told you, the SCA can be triggered by you by using Force in secure mode with a secure mode value. It can be triggered with MongoPay if you are above your 3DS limit. So even if you ask for default or no choice scenario, if you are above, just as right now, your 3DS value will trigger the 3DS SCA flow, SCA flow. This value can go up to 250. So unfortunately, if you are above 250 euro as 3DS limit right now, it will go down to 250 euro. But as I told you before, even if you ask for a default or no choice scenario and MongoPay allow it because you are under your 3DS limit, the bank, so the acquiring bank or the issuing bank, can trigger an SCA if they are not confident enough in its transaction, and then you will have an SCA at the end. So what are your options? You have two options to move on 3DS to Flow. The first one is to keep the default value, and then the liability remain on your side, and the frictionless experience should be as close as right now with your default value. The other choice we let you push is to replace default with no choice value, and then the liability is not on your side anymore, but the conversion rate and the frictionless rate should decrease as you don't have the liability on you anymore. What we recommend at the beginning is, most of the case, we recommend you to stay on the default value to have the best frictionless rate as possible, even if you keep the liability just as right now. Because, for example, in France and Germany, we saw that the no choice scenario don't have a lot of frictionless return from the bank. In other country, you will be able to push as well the no choice option and see how it what the behavior is on your market. For example, yesterday I was on a Faster by CB webinar. So CB is a scheme that regulates all the payments in France, but some in Europe as well. And sorry, I didn't add the time to predict it, but for example, if you ask for a frictionless experience, then default on MongoPay API, most of the time you will have a frictionless experience, but in sometimes you will have an SCA. If you don't ask for any particular scenario, and then you push no choice scenario, you will have some case with a frictionless experience, but most of the time you will have a strong customer authentication. If you ask for an SCA, most of the time you will have for an SCA at the end, but in sometimes issuing bank will not trigger their strong customer authentication, and they directly will accept in frictionless your transaction. Sorry. What about direct pay-in and pre-authorization? You will have to send, if you use pre-authorization or direct payment on MongoPay side, you will have two new parameters to send on your call. And then on two endpoints, paying card direct and pre-authorization card direct. Those two objects, the first one is an object called browser info. His goal is to collect all the browser information of your end user, and then you'll have information as accepted if Java or JavaScript are enabled, the language, the color depth, the screen size, even the height on the whites, the time zone, and the user agent. It will help the bank to choose a particular scenario or another one. The second new parameter that it's mandatory if you use a direct pay-in or pre-authorization on MongoPay side, it's called the IP address, and that's the IP address of your end user. This is standardized, and it has to be in IP version 4 or version 6. How to collect browser info? On the website, you can directly collect it on the user browser. So with a JavaScript, it's pretty easy to do it. On a mobile application, you'll have to open a web view and then collect the information of the web view, and then just as the website flow, send this information during your paying. About the web paying, how does it will work? It's exactly the same flow with the secure mode, so you will be able to push default, no choice, or false value for secure mode to ask for a particular scenario. But you will not have to develop anything, as the browser and the IP address, all those information will be collect by our widgets. So if you only do web paying and don't want to change from default to no choice scenario, you will don't have to do anything to move on 3ds 2. Of course, just as right now, if even if you ask for a default or no choice scenario, and if MongoPay or a recurring bank trigger an SCA scenario, you will not have to do anything, and the end user, just after he write his card information on our widget, will be redirected to the strong customer authentication page. But we allow you to push additional parameters, and those parameters will permit to have a better frictionless rate, as it will reassure the banks, even it can be acquiring or issuing bank as well. Those additional parameters, the first one is shipping. So the shipping that's the shipping address of your end user, and it will be available on MongoPay side in January. The second additional parameter you can push, it already exists on our API doc, and it's billing. That's exactly the same as shipping, but it's related to your end user billing address, and if you didn't do it, we strongly recommend you to push this information in MongoPay flow. Of course, we will continue to offer you new value to complete and push as much information as you can in your payments, and then have the most rate for your frictionless experience. We are doing an exercise right now on MongoPay side, and we are trying to understand what parameter have the best impact or your conversion rate on the frictionless flow, and we'll let you know as we'll develop and offer you new value to send on MongoPay API. About the card creation, the card creation logic stays the same. So you will be able to create a card creation on MongoPay side. However, with the DSP2, we are forced to trigger a strong customer authentication on the first transaction after the card creation. So every time you will create a card and you will trigger either a pre-authorization or a pay-in. This first pay-in or pre-authorization will have a strong customer authentication. That's something we already recommend to you, as it's a good way to verify that behind the card there is the right end user, but it will be mandatory on the 3DS2. Just to let you know, we are working on a card validation feature that will enable you to validate a card on MongoPay side, but without doing a real transaction, and then it will not be on the banking statement of the end user, and we'll let you know as when it will be ready on the MongoPay side. A new scenario as well is a fallback on 3DS1. This fallback, it can be triggered because three scenarios. The first one, it's because the 3DS2 server, authentication server are down. It should be rare, but it can happen sometimes. And then you will have to do anything. You will not have to do anything, but MongoPay will trigger a transaction on 3DS1. The second reason where it can happen, it's the card is not compatible with 3DS2. It's not unrolled on 3DS2 yet. It's really rare as well with the last figures we had. It's about 1% of the market right now, and it should be corrected in the next few weeks or months, but it will not be very common when you'll move on 3DS2 to have this case. And the third case is when the issuing banks are not ready on 3DS2 and they cannot even proceed a 3DS2 transaction, and then they will ask for a 3DS1 transaction, and we will trigger a 3DS1 transaction. As it will be on 3DS1 and the DSP2 imposed to have a strongly customer authentication, the retry will be on 3DS1 transaction. But the SCA will be always applied on this case. What is the vision on the market right now? So as I told you, not the card are not 3DS2 compliance yet enrolled. Not all the card schemes have the same frictionless rate, and not all issuing banks have the same frictionless rate. What's really hard with DSP2 is that even if there is a standard frame for the DSP2 with the strong customer authentication or the scenario, on the anti-fraud rules, there is no standard. So each issuing bank or acquiring bank can trigger an SCA if they don't like the transaction. So, for example, some transaction will be frictionless with a high rate on a certain issuing bank, but with another one, you will have a lot of strong customer authentication. So we cannot assure you that your wish will be you will be accepted by all the actors, but we'll work to understand how the market reacts and what most of the issuing bank will consider to accept a frictionless scenario. How we will route your payments, but because that's one of the biggest topic of the 3DS2 flow, we really need to understand how does it work and how we can have the best frictionless rate on your payments. So what we will monitor, the first thing we will monitor is the scenario. So if you push for a frictionless scenario or challenge, the fallback rate, success rate, the no choice scenario as well, and we'll monitor all this. We will monitor as well, as I told you, the parameters. If a client sends the billing, another one sends the shipping, we will compare the frictionless rate and see if a parameter or another one have a better, sorry for this, as un poids. We will trigger in most where a frictionless scenario or an SCA. The first parameter is the MCC. So as the MCC is a merchant category code, and that's a standard that permit us to send information about you, our clients, and then, for example, it can be 5691 men and clothing women's store, and we think that some MCC will have a better frictionless rate than another one, so we want to monitor this, and we already monitor this. We will also follow the issuing banks or the acquiring banks, how Arkia, BNP, Barclays, for example, react in some case or another one. And we will as well follow a card network, because we already saw it on the marketplace, on the markets, that CB do not have the same frictionless rate as Visa, neither are MasterCard and Amex in the future. About the device, what we understand on the market as well is that sometimes the computer will not have the same conversion rate as mobile or tablets, and we will try to monitor this. So it will really be a focus for MangoPay to understand what will work in the best with your payments, and we will fine-tune your transaction in order to get the best of DSP2 and 3DS2, as allowing you to in a short term, I hope, to push no choice scenario by pushing a lot on information on your flow, and then allowing you to don't have the liability anymore, but have a frictionless experience. However, at the beginning, we recommend you to stay on the default value because the no choice don't have a lot of frictionless rate right now. What is our roadmap? So our roadmap right now is focused more than all I told you already on two topics. The first one, it's what we call MIT. It's merchant initiated transaction. So it's all about the subscription and payment in installment, for example. In either way, we will request you an SCA on the first call, as it will be mandatory with the DSP2 regulation, and it will be very likely 99% of the it will be a new endpoint you will be able to integrate, and you will be able to push new field to precise when you want to begin your recurring payment, for example, how long you want to proceed those payments, how much, and yeah, other parameters that of course you will be able to understand and integrate with our API doc that will be update for of course. The second topic we are working on is a mobile SDK. As you remarked, we allow you to push the browser information, and you need to open a web view on your application in order to collect this information. On the first semester of 2021, you will be able to use a new mobile SDK for Android as on iOS that we are working on, and it will allow you to integrate this SDK and have a better native mobile integration, and the experience should be better for you with the integration, or and for your customer, of course. Yeah, that's it for the presentation. It was, I hope it answered your question, and feel free to ask this right now for those last 20 minutes. So I saw that you have a lot of questions, and I will read it with I'll begin with the one that had the most votes. Yeah, is it mandatory? I'll show you. Is it mandatory to collect browser information for each payment? Is it mandatory to collect browser information for each payment when you will integrate? If you use a direct payment, either pre-authorization or pay-in. So if you integrate MongoPay with web payments, you will not have to do anything. But if you integrate direct payment or direct pre-authorization, you will have to send browser information and IP address in order to be able to activate 3ds2 flow on MongoPay side. The second question, the most of our transactions are above 250 euros. Does it mean that for us, no choice is the best option, as it will be on bank to trigger or not the 3DS? Or MongoPay will anyway look at the limits. Unfortunately, as it's regulatory, MongoPay cannot ask for an exemption and cannot ask for something else than strong customer authentication if we are above this limit. So unfortunately, your 3DS limit will go down to 250 euro. And even if you push default value or no choice value, MongoPay will trigger a strong customer authentication, as it's regulatory and we don't have any choice to push and ask for an exemption and then let you have the best frictionless rate as possible. However, if you are under the limit and you think that your market is ready with this choice, or MongoPay will, in any case, will give you some figures. We are working to collect figure at European level on those three choice, and especially on the no choice scenario, and it will permit you to have all the keys to stay on default value or to trigger no choice. But in any way, above 250 euro, you will have a strong customer authentication, or at least we will ask for a strong customer authentication. And as I told you before, in a really rare case, you will have a frictionless, but in most of the case, you will have a strong customer authentication. The third question, we have mostly new customers, so there will be always an SCR because it's in first payment of the user on its card. Yes, definitely. As soon as the payment it's the first one on a card, you will have a strong customer authentication. But if you created a card with a new customer, you will have a strong customer authentication, or do your basically, you have 4 ways to activate a card right now. The first one is to do a €1 pay and then refund this. The second way is to do a €1 pre-authorization and then cancel it straight after. And the third and the fourth option will be to do the real payment or the real pre-authorization in order to activate the card. In any way, the first one will be strongly customer authenticated, and the second one depends of your secure mode value, will be either frictionless or either the challenge as it's strongly authenticated. Do you have an ETA for card validation without a real transaction? We don't have an ETA on this, but all we know is that we are working on this right now, and we'll let you know as soon as it's available on your site. It should be on the first semester of 2021, but in any way, we'll let you know when it will be available and give you all the related documentation information about this feature.
Yes, and just to add something else, to be fully frank, we are actually testing this feature because the behavior of the banks is not equal yet on this feature. Some banks support it yet, and some banks don't support it well yet. So we are trying to know why. We're trying to pushing our partners to make it work for most of the banks. And when we be sure that it will be working for most of the banks, this is something we will offer you very soon.
Thanks, Mikael. The next one. How will the 5 transactions in a row affect your payments, your subscription payments? Will be an exemption, or will be subscription in reality become limited to a 5 months lifetime? Maybe Mikael, you can answer to it. Just what I can say is that we are working on a feature, on a recurring feature, on a MIT feature at the moment, and yeah, we'll let you know as soon as it's ready.
Yes, just to focus on the 5 transactions in a row, you have to know that this 5 transactions in a row is not only MongoPay dependent. It's really about all the transactions made by your client, your user, on all marketplaces, crowdfunding, merchants, everywhere in the web through MongoPay or through another PSP, through your platform, or through another platform. So we can't ensure that the transaction you're going to perform is the 5th one, or the 1st one, or the 2nd one. About the subscriptions payments, as Arthur said just before, we're working on the fresh new features that will be available this quarter on Q1 2021 to allow you to perform some new fresh MIT transactions where you will open some kind of contract of subscription on the card, and just as you may maybe already use as pre-authorization, made some subsequent payments on the subscription, and be ensured that no authentication will be asked for the user after the 1st one. The 1st one on the subscription will be mandatory, and all the subsequent one will not be asked.
Thanks, Mikael. Okay, next one. At the moment, we require a 3DS1 for all payments. I think you're talking about strong customer authentication. We won't have any development available in December, January. Will anything break due to 3DS2 change? If you do only strong customer authentication, you will not have to do anything in a short term, as 3DS1 stay compliant with TSP2. When I'm talking about 3DS1, it's strong customer authentication. So if you push force in any case, or if your 3DS limit it's at €1 at the moment, in a short term, you will be able to stay on 3DS1. However, what you need to understand, it's the 3DS1 stay compliant with TSP2. However, in long term, so a year and a half, it will be depreciated more and more on the issuing bank side, and you'll have to integrate 3DS2 flow, and then if you do direct payments, integrate browser information or IP address in the MongoPay API. So you will not have to change anything in short term, but we strongly recommend you to keep some place in your roadmap in order to integrate browser information or IP address if you want to move on the 3DS2 flow. What we need to understand here, it's a bit not really clear on the market right now, because all the markets try to be as ready as they can with their anti-fraud system and everything else. DSP2 and 3DS2, it's really an opportunity for you, as the frictionless rate for no choice scenario will be better and better as the bank will run transaction and update their anti-fraud tools. with all the data they will collect for the next week or months. You should at the end have a really nice conversion rate for your frictionless ask with the no choice scenario. So even if you will probably have a bit more of strong customer authentication at the beginning, the final the promises for you, it's to have a better frictionless rate with 3DS2, and we'll do anything we can on MongoBase side to offer you this opportunity. Does this apply only to card payments, for example, Ideal or Prettily to 24, P24 payments method are not affected by this at all? No, it will really be for your card payments as P24 or Ideal will manage the authentication on their side. Yeah, we'll.
Sorry, Arthur.
Yeah,
it's quite all the same for all the what we called in MongoPay web style payments, like as you said, Ideal, P24, GiroPay, etc. The payment experience is all managed by the partner, the banking partner. So these payments. So the fact that you that the user that pay on ID, for instance, do an authentication, pass the password, the IBAN, its bank account, etc., is known as an authentication. So it's 3SD2, it's DSP2 compliance after all.
Thanks. So the next one, is it possible to have a special limit for 3DS2? Example, more than 30 euro. What you need to understand with the 30 euros, it's we have as MongoPay have the right to ask for two exemptions. The first one is low amount transaction under 30 euro, and the second one is the low risk transaction up to 250 euro. However, it will not impact your 3DS limits as it's not a choice on your side to ask for one another one, but on MongoPay side. In any way, if you have, for example, a 50 euro 3DS limit on MongoPay side, it will not change. The only case where it will change is to have, for example, a 400 3DS limit on MongoPay side, and unfortunately, we don't have any choice but to move it down to 250 euro. In any way, just as right now, if you have, for example, 30 euro or 50 euro 3DS limits, you can contact our support that will challenge you on this wish and will permit you or not to move above your limit by permitting you to go up to 50 euro, for example, or to 100 euro with the average transaction you have, the fraud we have with you, and everything related. So it will not change anything between 3DS1 or 3DS2, as you will not go down to 30 euro if you have a 50 euro 3DS limit, for example. The only case it will affect you is when you will be above 250 euro, as MongoPay cannot ask for a frictionless scenario above this limit.
Yes, so feel free to ask our support team or fraud team or your sales management about this question, just to give an insight about that. With 3DS V2 and with DSP2, you can now afford not to ask for an SCA every time. This is promise of 3DS V2 and of DSP2, and you can ask for a no choice experience without having the responsibility of the payment, and maybe, as Arthur said just before, having an SCA. This is the best case scenario in the end, when all the banks will be ready to offer frictionless experience through a no choice choice. So feel free to ask your support about that, but keep in mind that the no choice experience could be in the next future the best choice you could have for your payments, because the liability will not be on your side and your user could benefit from a frictionless authentication, which is great because we know that the authentication workflow could lead to a little dropout on your flow, even if more and more people used to have an authentication on payments. And I'm pretty sure, but it's quite personal vision, that the authentication flow will more and more be accepted by the users in the future.
Thanks a lot. The next one, following your answer, Michael. With MIT payment, I understand from your colleagues that there's no cap, so you can do SCA on 50 pre-authorization, and this allow you to do an MIT on any amount uncapped.
I guess we already answered a little bit.
Yeah.
We talk quite deeper on the MIT payments and the MIT features coming in the next 2 or 3 months. If you want to have, George, a proper answer, maybe a deeper look at your question, you could raise our support or your customer success management to have some extra information. But what's sure about that, we will offer you a better MIT management in the next future, in the near future, and that's it. And for the pre-authorization flow, yes, you could use the pre-authorization, the first SCA, to validate the card if you want to do MIT transactions in the next 7 days. But after 7 days, you have to do another pre-authorization, and this pre-authorization could be again an SCA asked transaction.
Thanks, Michael. The next one, does the allow the low risk transaction also have the maximum 5 transactions in a row constraint? To be honest, I don't know. I think it's a case at as it's more risky on the issuing banks than the low amount transaction.
Yeah.
So
I can ensure that, yes.
Yeah, definitely.
In theory, the lowest transaction have a constraint of 5 transactions in a row. In theory, it's the rule pretends to be 5 transactions in a row below €100 in 24 hours. But what we see is that in the end, the bank has the last word. The issuing bank has the last word. So some banks could be harder, some banks could be, I say, cooler on this rule, and could let you do maybe 6 or 7 transactions. It really depends on the bank. And right now on the European market, the behaviors are not quite the same for each bank. It's not quite the same in France rather than in Germany, rather than in Spain, about all the frictionless experience in all the 3SD2 application.
Yeah, I can complete. For example, if you just to let you know, if you do 3 transactions and the fourth one in SCA, it will restart this count. So you will be able to, as soon as you have a strong customer authentication, this constraints go down to 0. So for example, if you have a 1 transaction of €10 and then your end user do a €2,000 paying with a strong customer authentication, if you do 4 transactions after, you will have of €10, you will have most of the time a frictionless experience, as it's now not it's as we start the 5 in-hour transaction limit. I don't see any question more. I can chat.
So there's a question about the deadline to transfer from 3ds V1 to 3ds V2. We recommend to add the browser information and the IP before March 2021. If you don't want to integrate a new logic about no choice, you can not integrate the no choice flow on your payment flow right now. As Arthur has shown you before, the default flow will keep the behavior very, very, very close to your actual behavior. But the browser information and the IP will be mandatory at the end of Q1. I'm sorry, I just forget to do that.
Okay.
No more question, I guess. Beatrice, if you want to come back on the stage.
I see a question about API documentation. Of course, as soon as it's available on MongoPay side and with our SDK, we will provide you the best documentation we can in order to let you integrate with your developer those value and the secure mode if you want.
Yeah, the documentation about all these first updates will be available in January.
Can you hear me? So I think...
Yeah, you're yellow, but we...
Yes, my camera is a little issue. So there was just a last question in the chat by Miroslav. Is it all good?
I don't see it.
It's in the live chat.
Okay. Okay. Quick question. All these concerns concern strong authentication for paying to make it sure of the real consent of clients of actually pay a certain amount that will be €100 certain. But what about the consent of the customer to have funds blocked in escrow accounts be released to escrow accounts of the other party? Just need to understand in a better way this question.
I guess this is a very, very precise question, Miroslav, and I'm pretty sure we will answer to this question after the meeting, after the webinar. Let's just understand the case, because in 7 minutes, I guess it won't be enough for us, and we will offer you a proper answer in the next days.
In any way, we did a French webinar yesterday, and we did it today with the English one. We noted all the questions, and we'll let you have we'll push an FAQ on our website with all the questions that have not been responded, and even if they are. So you will have a lot of question answer on the MongoPay documentation. But feel free to contact your support team to precise your case, and we'll reach out to give you the answer. Yeah, I think that's it, Beatrice.
So I think Valeria is following up on a question about the US market.
I don't see the question.
It's in, well, the question is in the question feed, and she followed up on the live chat.
Okay, okay. Yeah, I got it. It is also for US market. Not all banks support 3DS Secure. It will, most of the time, just be as right now. Some banks will work on 3DS. 3DS, it's a standard by EMVCo. EMVCo is a worldwide company that create these rules. So most of the time it will work with the US market, but unfortunately, in some case, if they are not 3DS 2 ready, it will not work. We will precise use this case on the documentation on the question and answer page to let you know all the particularity and what we understand so far about this topic. In any way, there is anti-fraud rules that are set about the liability of it, and we will give you all the information about those transactions.
Thanks, Arthur. I guess this is the very end of the webinar right now. Beatrice?
Yes, so thank you everyone for joining today's webinar. As I precised right at the beginning of the webinar, every question will receive an answer after the webinar. You're all gonna receive a replay of this webinar right at the end. I noted down the name of everyone who asked for slides. And we'll keep you posted on the updates on this topic. Thank you all. We wish you a nice day and a nice weekend.
Thanks a lot. May you have a good day.
Thanks. Take care. Bye.